Good to see you. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. And a roll call.
Commissioner Anna Hamilton,
Here.
Commissioner Justin Green,
Here.
Commissioner Anna Hansen,
Present.
Commissioner Camilla Bustamante,
Present.
and Chair Hank Hughes.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Now the land acknowledgement. I acknowledge this county building in Santa Fe County is on the original homelands of the Tiwa people, who know it as Oga Poge Owinge, White Shell Watering Place. And moment of reflection is Jose Rivera from the County Sheriff's Office.
You guys hear me? All right. Let's take a moment and focus on the work ahead of us today. Being ever mindful of our decisions in the best interest of our community, we take a moment of silence.
And also, while we're taking a moment of silence, we'd also take a moment of silence for Jose Luis Roybal, who passed away on August 27th. Jose was the father of Ted Roybal, IT systems analyst, and I know that he will be terribly missed. Please take a moment of silence for Ted and his family.
And I'd also like to remember Maria Benitez, who over the many years that I have lived in Santa Fe have been honored to see her perform, and somebody who brought the great cultural dance of flamenco home to New Mexico, and was an incredible performer, and I would just like to take a moment of silence for her also.
A moment of silence. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Next is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda, Manager Schaefer?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, there are no recommended changes to the amended agenda as presented. I would just note that the initial meeting, the initial agenda for today's meeting was posted on Tuesday, September 3rd, and the amended agenda that's before you for approval was posted on Friday, September 6th at approximately 4:55 p.m., which is more than 72 hours before today's meeting as required by the Open Meetings Act. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a preferred?
Motion to approve the agenda is laid out.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Green, seconded by Commissioner Hamilton. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now we have approval of meeting minutes, request approval of August 13th, 2024 Board of County Commission meeting minutes. Are there any changes or comments on the minutes? Or how about a motion on the minutes?
Mr. Chair, I have no changes. If there are no other changes or comments to the minutes, I'd like to motion to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Bustamante, seconded by Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Now we have the consent agenda. Would you like to, anybody like to remove an item from the consent agenda?
If nobody does, I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Hamilton, seconded by Commissioner Bustamante. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Now we move on to number 5, appointment, a resolution appointing a nuisance hearing officer for clean and lean ordinance enforcement pursuant to Santa Fe County. Rachel, are you going to present that?
Good afternoon, Chair Hughes. This is going to be presented by Peter Valencia from our office, and I believe he's walking in right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, the County Attorney's Office is requesting that the Commission authorize a resolution which would allow appointing of a hearing officer pursuant to, for clean and lean enforcement pursuant to Santa Fe County Ordinance 2023-04. The county currently has a ordinance which allows for enforcing property of nuisance and abatement, but Section 10 and Section 11 of that ordinance requires that there be a hearing officer, and the hearing officer is there to basically enable an evidentiary hearing, to present to the board, to draft resolutions, to allow the county to enforce this property nuisance abatement. So we're asking the Commission to approve this hearing officer, and I'm ready for any questions.
Any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Hanson?
Thank you. Tell me your name again, please.
Peter Valencia.
Hi, Mr. Valencia. Nice to meet you, and welcome. So this hearing officer will only hear cases that are being brought before him, right? Will he be initiating any cases?
So what happens typically, the process is outlined in the ordinance, is there is a code enforcement officer. The code enforcement officer, pursuant to the ordinance, it basically tries to gain voluntary compliance. They go to the owner or the occupant of the piece of property, hey, we've identified this as a possible nuisance. Can you work with us on this? Then at that point, if they're not able to work on it, they give them a written order. And hey, we're going to ask you to clean this up pursuant to this written order. If they don't voluntarily comply, what they can do is they can submit this to a hearing officer. The hearing officer then holds an evidentiary hearing, determines whether or not there is actually a nuisance, and gathers all the evidence, hears it from the code enforcement officer, hears from the property owner or the person hearing it, then drafts a resolution, and then ultimately leaves it up to the commission to determine whether or not to take action on this. And this action it's a civil action because it's effective, and then the county can go in and directly affect the property. It's not something, we don't have to hold a criminal sanction over the property owner's head. It's we can go in and directly affect the property, but it's ultimately the commission's determination, but the hearing officer just presents the evidence to the commission.
Okay. So I have some serious issues in the village of Agua Fria. Basically, it is what I consider possibly racketeering, because there are a number of houses that are involved in this crime organization. And we have issued a clean and lean ordinance, but it's in the courts, but it's only for one piece of property. And the people who are involved in this are moving from one house to another. And so I feel like we need to make sure that when we're dealing with this clean and lean ordinance, that we're actually also including these other places that are being used as drug dens, crime activities, bringing in stolen materials, selling it, selling drugs, etc. And so I'm happy that we're going to have a hearing officer, because I think that's a really important step in this process. But I do think we have to start being a little more vigilant, because this is a very serious issue in the village. And when we hear that, well, crime has gone down, but crime has not gone down in these areas, and people are suffering. So I just want to put that on the record.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Commissioner, thank you.
Okay.
And I will make a motion to approve a resolution appointing a nuisance hearing officer for the Clean and Lean Ordinance Enforcement Pursuit to Santa Fe County Ordinance 2023-04.
Second?
Okay, motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Bustamante. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, you have the appointed hearing officer. Now we go to item 6A, final order for case 24-5130, Essentia Holdings.
Mr. Chair, that previous item had a resolution number.
All right.
Resolution number for 5A is 2024118.
Okay, thank you.
And with regard to item 6A, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, this was put on miscellaneous action items because we did have one abstention. Absent any questions from the board, we did not plan to provide a presentation, but staff from the Growth Management Department is present to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Or somebody want to make a motion?
I'll move to approve item 6A, final order for case number 24-5130. I was at abstention, and I got to speak out about it at the time, so thank you very much for humoring me and getting us to this point.
So,
Okay, motion by Commissioner Green, seconded by Commissioner Hamilton, or Commissioner Hanson. Okay, Hanson got it out first. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and that's no abstentions, right? All right. 6B is a resolution granting authority to the county manager to execute all documents between Rancho Viejo Limited Partnership and the Santa Fe County for the acquisition of real property necessary to construct the Turquoise Trail Bulk Water Project.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, my name is Scott Caseman. I'm a project manager for the county's Public Works Department. Before you is a resolution granting authority to the county manager to execute all documents between Rancho Viejo Limited Partnership and Santa Fe County for the acquisition of real property necessary to construct the Turquoise Trail Bulk Water Project. The county has completed the 100% design to extend a water line from the Turquoise Trail School down to the fire station. As part of that project, a bulk water station has been planned to provide residential water to the community. There is 5 acres that is necessary in order to construct that bulk water station, and Rancho Viejo Limited Partnership has agreed to a bargain sale agreement of that property so that we can build the station. They have agreed to basically just have waived the connection fees for 5 of their other remaining lots north of the area that's being bought, which comes out to about $47,500 is what those connection fees would be that they are asking to be waived in return for this property. We did a quick estimate value for the property based on an appraisal that was recently done for a property we bought for a buried water tank for fire suppression and training just down the road near Madrid. And the value was about $64,100 an acre. So that gives the value to this property of $320,000. Now, Mr. Thompson and Rancho Viejo Limited Partnership will be responsible for having their own appraisal done to calculate the exact amount for tax purposes. And with me is Mike Hart, another project manager. If there are any questions about the bargain sale, I'll talk about those now, but then he's going to do a quick presentation on the actual project itself.
Any questions?
So, as Scott was indicating, it's a 2.3-mile extension of a 12-inch water line that has been a part of our master plan for quite a while to extend water services out to that community as part of SDA 1. That line will include 17 fire hydrants, which actually will provide firefighting ability along that corridor. The water line will also provide access to other communities, potentially in future projects as their wells start to diminish and wane in terms of water quality. So this will also take the fire station off its own well.
Okay, any questions? Commissioner Green?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mike. Really appreciative of the fire hydrants. Two other aspects that I'm wondering, on any cross street that comes into where this is, are we building T sections so tie-ins could be brought into that without disrupting that water line in the future?
We have not. There is a pressure reducing station so that potential is available. Saddle taps on those lines would be a very easy thing to do, which would not disrupt the line.
Saddle taps at at a later date, not to put, and those would be big enough to put 6-inch lines off of those to extend and that's still considered a saddle tap and not a disruptive.
Yes.
Okay, that's fabulous. Thank you.
And then it's my understanding that we're not giving any promise of rezoning the property that we're crossing with the water line. I just want that on, particularly on the record.
To my knowledge, no, but that wouldn't go through Public Works. That'd be land use.
And yes, your statement is accurate, Mr. Chair, and the resolution makes it clear that the donation agreement has to specify that the donation of land by donor does not guarantee approval of any future applications the donor and its successors and its signs may submit pursuant to the Sustainable Land Development Code or successor ordinance. So again, no such promises have been made, and in fact, the resolution requires that we include in the relevant agreement a statement to the contrary that no such approvals are guaranteed.
Okay,
So, Mr. Chair?
go ahead.
Move to approve the resolution for the acquisition of real property necessary to construct the Turquoise Trail bulk water project.
That,
Second.
under discussion, is that the extent of your presentation? Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. Do you have further comment? Commissioner Hanson? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Hamilton, seconded by Commissioner Green. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And I think it's
Thank you.
very important to build the bulk water station, so I'm glad it's moving along. Okay, next, we need a resolution number.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. That resolution number is 2024-119.
Okay, next is item 6C, request approval of Santa Fe Fire Department's participation in the ambulatory supplemental payment program and to delegate of signature authority to the county manager to finalize and execute the memorandum of agreement with the New Mexico Healthcare Authority and the Human Services Department regarding the implementation of ASPP and sign the purchase orders. Go ahead, Chief Black.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. The Fire Department seeks your approval to participate in the new reimbursement program, the Ambulatory Supplemental Payment Program. Currently, Santa Fe County Fire Department bills Medicaid for 100% reimbursements of those emergency ground ambulance services that we provide. However, we receive approximately 24% back to address the cost that we incur to provide those services. The Supplemental Payment Program is a new reimbursement program for government agencies only. Specifically, this program will allow the department to recoup the cost incurred for our department providing emergency ground ambulance transports for Medicaid beneficiaries. In 2020, the fire department entered into an agreement with Public Consulting Group to pursue an alternative payment methodologies and to develop the supplemental payment program. At the same time, PCG, Public Consulting Group, began working with the fire department across the state to facilitate supplement payment programs in their respective departments. On June 7th, 2024, Public Consulting Group and HSD finalized the one-year emergency ground ambulance services agreement, and the model finalized that model, which is anticipated to apply to all of our emergency ground ambulance services during calendar year 2024. A condition of this program is that Santa Fe County, along with other governmental entities, agree to fund the state's share of these supplemental Medicaid payments. Funding the state's share will be offset as the county will receive additional revenue through the Ambulatory Supplemental Payment Program. Santa Fe County has been requested to sign a memorandum of agreement with HSD, also known as the Healthcare Authority, to fund the state's share of the supplemental payment program that is shown in Exhibit B of today's packet material. The MOA covers the emergency ground ambulance services provided by Santa Fe County Fire Department between January 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. HSD and the Healthcare Authority will use these funds transferred by the county and other governmental agencies participating in the supplemental payment program to draw down the federal share of the supplemental payments. The projections are based on average transports and cost per transport from all participating government entities outlined in the packet material shown in Exhibit C. All of PCG's calculations are verified by an independent auditor and gone through the state as well. Both the state and federal shares may vary based on actual numbers of transports and levels of services provided. However, Exhibit C captures the financial projections of the program, showing a net income for Santa Fe County of $729,293. Today, we are requesting you to approve the fire department's participation in the Ambulatory Supplemental Payment Program and delegate signature authority to the county manager to finalize and execute the MOA with HSD and sign any purchase orders. And with that, I stand before you for any questions.
Any questions? No questions? Somebody want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the county fire department's participation in the Ambulatory Supplemental Payment Program. And 2, delegation of signature authority to the county manager to finalize and execute the memorandum of agreement with the New Mexico Healthcare Authority.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Green made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Hanson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Moving on to number D. Approval of amendment number 6 to the agreement number 2020-0001 with Griffin and Associates. And I see we have Bill Taylor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Bill Taylor, Purchasing Division. We're here before the board to ask approval for amendment number 6 to the agreement 2020-0001 CMO with Griffin and Associates, DBA Sunny 505, increasing the compensation to the contract and extending the term of the agreement for an additional year through October. We entered into this agreement through an RFP in 2019 of October, and they provide promotional ads and sales for promoting tourism-related attractions, facilities throughout the county. This will increase the contract total over the total years of the term of the contract, a total amount of $4,478,995.50 exclusive of tax. With that, I'll stand for questions. And we have
Okay.
Lisa Katnick with any questions you may have about the contract.
Yeah, thank you. Lisa's here too, I see. Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So how many years is on this contract?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hanson, 5 years. We'll extend it to 6 in October of 2025. The amendment extends it to October of 2025. We entered the contract in October of 2019. So that'll be a total of 6 years next October.
Okay, and so we have not gone out for RFP or anything?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, we have not. It's a considered non-professional contract. Can be extended beyond the 4-year term for a professional contract.
Okay.
And so we have not gone out for a new procurement.
Okay, and then it seems that the amount of the contract is more than what we take in lodger's tax. Is that true? Did I read that correctly?
Commissioner, I'm sorry, more than what?
So what we take in lodger's tax, like?
More than, thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Lisa Kontonic, Marking Coordinator. So the dollar amount that currently stands within lodger's tax is above this total dollar amount. So
how much is that?
I believe based on, now I'm blanking out. Hold on one moment. Close to 1.5.
1.5, and we will be, our part will be 729,000, and the state is paying 320,000. Is that correct? But that's what I'm reading from.
So the total contract dollar amount per year that we had as an additional was $1,249,000.
And then what do we bring in lodger's tax?
A little over 1.5.
1.5. Okay. And so that 200,000, how is that being spent?
So based on lodger's tax and state statute, the money has the ability to be utilized within a certain shelf life in order to make sure that we do not hold on the money. So that 200,000 stays within the lodger's tax grant fund. Within the lodger's tax fund. And so that money has not been appropriated or encumbered for any purpose. So it just sits within the lodger's tax fund.
So are we paying the entire contract for Sunny 505, or is the state paying also 320,000?
Okay. So this dollar amount within your lodger's tax project list is the full dollar amount that Santa Fe County lodger's tax would pay to 7505. When we consider the co-op marking and advertising, we back that up out of our lodger's tax fund to pay the tourism department directly.
Okay.
And so when we received the grant for FY25, those funds, or those matching funds, came out of fiscal year 24 end of the year funds. So as we budgeted for fiscal year 25, we have a allocated dollar amount dedicated to the New Mexico Tourism Department for matching cooperative marking funds.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Are there any other questions? Commissioner Green.
Thank you. Generally in favor of this, but I do have sort of the challenge to you and to Sunny 505 to, really look ahead and bring a sort of modern, smarter, digital based thing. I know we can say that these books are handed out, and maybe because it's the only thing that they hand out over at this thing that it's a good thing, but there's definitely more efficient ways to do that and more dynamic ways to know its impact, right? Handing it out is one thing, getting people to log in and sort of, start to use their phone and start to track them across the county. Download an app, nobody likes that invasion of privacy, but guess what? It's a useful tool for us to track and to offer people when they drive down Highway 14 and they end up in Madrid to suddenly have a coupon to go spend some money, or to tell them that there's an art show or whatever, or, hey, I'm driving through El Dorado and the El Dorado Art Show studio tour is going on. Ways to sort of, use the tools that we have, that even if they don't have the actual book with them and the book is sort of out of date. So I just sort of challenge you to say that hopefully next year there's a more comprehensive digital-based platform out there using the same amount of money but in a much more dynamic next generation format.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for your comments. So we do have a travel platform that's going to be launched this fall that coincides with our website that is more user-friendly for computer or for smartphone for building itineraries. I believe based on my last presentation, I discussed that our percentage of digital media, digital marketing and advertising is about close to 88%, and traditional print publication is the remaining. So we do try our best within digital. All of the creative that we've been working with Tourism Department for the most part has been digital ads, social mirroring, talking about your geofencing. So we do target based on, just because we have the ability to pivot our messaging in a much quicker time frame. So I do agree that digital media is powerful, so is print for those that are a little bit more traditional, that want to see it and want to feel it.
Thanks. I think we need to do all of those. And the other thing with digital is that you can track things a lot better. So
Yes.
starting to get the intel from that and start to see how, because we're using this digital platform, let's see who we're getting this in front of, and if we can find a way to start tracking that type of response. So, there's nothing better. Dumb marketing is fine, but smart marketing is effective. And we need to be smarter with that and know what works. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Hanson?
Also, I want to thank you for the wonderful ad in Land, Water, People, Time. And last night, I handed out almost 20 copies at the Agua Fria Village Association meeting. Everyone was thrilled with the content and with the ad. I specifically showed the beautiful ad on the back page. And, you know, everyone was really happy to see such a beautiful ad. So I want to thank you. And I hope in the future you will continue to advertise and continue to make Land, Water, People Time the success that it is. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion, sure. I will make a motion for approval of amendment number 6 to agreement number 2020-0001-CMO/KE with Griffin Associates Marketing, DBA Sunny 505, increasing the compensation by $1,249,000 to a total contract sum of $4,478,995.50. Inclusive of GRT, and delegating signature authority to the county manager to sign the purchase orders.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Green, seconded by Commissioner Hanson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Thank you.
Thank you
Lisa
so much,
and Bill.
Commissioners.
And now we go to item E. Yvonne will talk about a resolution requesting a budget increase in various funds to carry forward the FY24 encumbrance balances into FY25.
Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners. The first budget adjustment before you is to budget the encumbered balances being carried over from fiscal year 24. The original budget for capital expenditures and projects were previously approved by the board during previous fiscal year's budget and capital planning sessions. DFA doesn't recognize multi-year budget and multi-year budgets at the local government level, requiring the budget resolution like this one to be brought before the board. This type of budget adjustment also allows us to keep the state's records in line with ours. The capital encumbrances being carried forward total just under $32 million. In addition, departments were given the opportunity to request operational encumbrances to be carried forward into fiscal year 25 for reasons like unanticipated delays in the production of materials, supplies, or in contractual services. Operational encumbrances being carried forward total just over $1.2 million. And with that, Mr. Chair, I stand for any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Yvonne. How do we track and measure ourselves against past years? Like, was this a particularly good year or a particularly bad year in terms of, is 32 million or close to 33 million on a more or less $200 million budget considered good, bad, or to be, how do we score this?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Green, I don't think I've ever considered it good or bad. It's just based upon which projects are moving forward. I want to say last year we were at 54 million that we carried over. So if we look at it numerically, then we're good. We're spending more money, carrying over less. But I can't say without being able to look at the projects to see what did we complete versus what do we still have pending.
Okay, so the previous year was 50-something million, and now, so, okay, there's a little bit of progress, a lot of progress being made to, you know, get things done on time in the budget year.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Just want to move to approve these transfers.
And I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Hamilton, seconded by Commissioner Green. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No opposed? Very good. Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the resolution number for that item 6E is 2024120.
Thank you. Okay, and ahead of schedule, we'll have move on to the presentation by the Interfaith Community Shelter at Pete's Place. Karina Lopez and Bev Kellum is online, I believe. Is she online?
I'll go ahead. Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair and County Commissioners, for having us this afternoon and allowing us to do this presentation on the concept of a resource opportunity center that we're looking to develop.
And I think we're waiting for your presentation to be up online.
Oh, okay. Oh, perfect. Thank you.
That's not it.
Oh, okay.
If you want to, oh, there you go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Yes, so we are looking to develop and potentially, well, definitely relocate our Resource Opportunity Center. The Interfaith Community Shelter for many years now has been providing life stabilizing services for individuals in our community who are low or no income. Am I pointing this right? Oh, there we go. Okay, really quick, we're going to touch on the history, some of the challenges, opportunities, things we're really looking to do, and of course, highlight our community partners. So currently, our Resource Opportunity Center is out of Pete's Place. When our founders created Pete's Place, they recognized that more than just overnight shelter and food was enough for these individuals, that we could do more, that we could offer more services. And again, this is to anyone who is low or no income. They don't necessarily have to be staying at Pete's overnight to receive those resource opportunity services at Pete's. Along with this, we highlight that we've served thousands of people coming in through our doors. We do utilize it as an opportunity to enter people into the homeless management information system and also the Connect system through the Unitas platform that really lets us connect people to services, start doing those steps to get those individuals connected to stabilize and hopefully move towards permanent housing. What is not up here and is part of the county support through Connect is the flex funds that we also utilize for homeless prevention. This allows us to help individuals who are low income, living check to check, to come in if they need utility assistance, rental assistance. What we recognize is those individuals who are living check to check, it's usually one incident that kind of snowballs into that effect where they're having to live out of their vehicle and then end up, unfortunately, at Pete's Place for shelter. So the goal for us is to help lift up those individuals who are unhoused, who are really trying to overcome adversity, as well as prevent homelessness in the first place by utilizing flex funding and other funds to help those individuals who are what we would consider precariously housed. Our new concept for a resource opportunity center is really that we can do more. The current location is great for an overnight shelter. We are able, it's centrally located. It is on a bus route, easily accessible. For overnight shelter, it's actually a really good size and location, and we are able to provide those services. That being said, the challenges is really that, unfortunately, the issue has somewhat outgrown Pete's Place. Many times if you drive by, people are waiting for our day services program, so you'll see them unfortunately spill out into onto Harrison Road. And the other issue is our parking lot. We have thousands of volunteers, some that have come in since the inception of the agency, and our parking lot is quite small, so it fills up really quick with volunteers, partner providers, staff, and individuals seeking our services. So in looking at all that and how we can alleviate some of those challenges, we decided that it would be great to have a larger space to not only provide a wealth more of services, but do it in a safe manner where things aren't spilling out into the street. With a more comprehensive center, again, we are looking at relocating. Whether or not that includes shelter, we haven't made that full decision yet, just based on the location. We are actively looking, as I'm sure you all are aware. We've looked at different locations. But the other thing is, with this location is including a space for people to be throughout the day, indoor, outdoor. So we are very much looking for an area that we can provide what we would call a day shelter, where people can be there during the day. They don't necessarily have to leave the property, and they are able to, again, if we have an outdoor space area where people can stay, and also an indoor space area, because we currently do in the winter offer for people to come in during Code Blue, whether it's raining, snowing. But if any of you, and I invite you all to come to Beats, if you've been in there, it's a really small space, so it doesn't take a lot to really eat up a lot of the space. So for us, again, looking at that potential of growing not only the services we provide, bringing in more partner providers, but really providing our guests a place to be. I do have to note that the average age of our guests is 46, and the more chronically homeless, the higher that number jumps. So we're working with various populations with various challenges. We are heavily focused on our elderly homeless population, which is a growing population, not only in Santa Fe, but nationwide, and looking at more services that we can bring in for those individuals, but also, again, that safe space where those individuals can be. I think our oldest guest is 81 years old. So this is not somebody who's going to lift themselves up by their bootstraps, go get a job. So I'm sorry, was that Beverly?
Did I do something? Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry. But yes, anyways, of really thinking of that population, and we've even stated that if it is viable, that we can keep our current location and really focus that on a specialized population, whether it's families or those elderly individuals that need more comprehensive care because of their complex needs. So again, all that's kind of part of this concept. You can see additional services that we could provide, housing navigation, expanded storage. Also, if you ever come into Pete's bathroom, there's always clothes in the trash, because if you have nowhere to store your belongings and you have nowhere to launder them, the trash is where they're going to go. So we'd love to provide storage space. We do that now, but it is limited because of our space. Obviously, laundry services. I love vision, dental, and foot care because we have healthcare for the homeless, but it is very limited. So we'd love to expand on that. And then do even childcare. What's not up here, and we do need to include it, is we'd love to expand our kennel services. We have a kennel at Pete's Place, so people can be there with their pets. Unfortunately, right now, we're outgrowing the number of people who are utilizing that, so we'd love to expand on that and even include childcare. We don't serve a lot of families, but when we do, it's important to have a space dedicated for those young children, for youth. So looking at those elements too, as we look at this concept for a much larger space, to be able to include all these services that we would like to, and even more if possible. We are looking to fill service gaps. As you can see, day shelter is a huge one, but I would love to bring in counseling services, whether it's telehealth or in person, because I know there's challenges, medicated assisted treatment. The goal really is not only providing those basic needs, but even going a step further and creating a one-door model, if you will. I don't know if many of you were here years ago when we talked about a one-door model concept, and I recall being part of that conversation. The challenge with that was we never found a location, amongst other things, but the location was a huge piece that unfortunately saw that fall through. So we are really dedicated to being very conscientious of the location that we select and how that's going to not only impact the people we serve, but the community that's going to welcome us. So, and my presentation to you today, and having Beverly Kellum here, is that we have to acknowledge and realize this is a community effort. Pete's cannot be solely responsible for trying to address homelessness. We really need our community partners, our partner providers, and the investment from the city and the county and the state to be able to provide these services, to really make an impact on those individuals, those who are unhoused and those who are precariously housed, to be able to do this. So again, the goal here is not only finding a location, a facility, and getting funding and support, but really creating a community-involved effort in addressing this issue. that is it of my presentation. I'm not huge on presentations. I do have to acknowledge a lot of our partner providers. This is what we currently provide at Pete's, and then some. We do have rotating partner providers that do other items that without them we wouldn't be able to do the amazing work we do. And these are our current community partners, and we're always seeking more partners to come out and help us at Pete's Place, and again, meeting people where they're at. So thank you. And I guess my ask for the county, you commissioners, was not only support in this, obviously funding support, but to really be able to be part of this conversation with our community members to really make this project happen and this development happen. So again, for the betterment of the county, not just the city. Any questions?
Okay, I have questions, but I'll let others go first. Commissioner Hanson?
Thank you, Corinne, for being here. So last night at my Agua Fria Village meeting, who are impacted by the homeless and unhoused, and are worried about the relocation, but at the same time, recognize that it's an issue that we have to pursue. So do you have funding for a new location?
We have some funding. We have some commitment from the state and I think the city to support the effort that we're trying to do. So yes.
So what do you think?
Well, yes and no.
There's my
I don't know how
finance
to.
person.
Yeah. I don't know how to raise I speak without
Go
just
ahead,
starting
Beverly.
to speak. My apologies for interrupting, but the shelter has funding that we have set aside to do something bigger because we've recognized ever since 2022, our strategic plan basically was to do a larger day services facility or resource and opportunity center. Do we have all the funding to purchase and remodel or build? No. Do we feel like we have support in the community to do something like this? Yes. What we really need is for the community to understand that Interfaith did not create the housing crisis, did not create the fentanyl crisis, and did not create the homelessness that you're seeing all over town, not just at the shelter. We are working as hard as we can to mitigate the problems that occur because people fall into homelessness.
And Beverly is the deputy director.
Yeah, sorry I didn't
of the
introduce
shelter.
myself.
So in finding a new location, I've heard of talk of different locations. Using the open door, one door model, I was part of those conversations 8 years ago, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. And I think that it is a really important model to have. So finding a location, which there is one that has outdoor space, indoor space, but it would take a considerable fundraising drive, I believe, and I believe this community could step up. This is, I was at a gala the other night where hundreds of thousands of dollars was raised. And there's not like there's a shortage of money here. And this is an important issue that we all really need to commit to and work on for you to succeed, so to speak. So I support the one door or open door or whatever you want to call it model, because I think that it does provide an avenue for people to get resources that they need. And I know you are doing the best you can with the limited resources that you have. I also, you didn't mention Christ Lutheran. They weren't on your list that has offered a shelter, pallet shelter. Isn't that the name of that church?
Yes, they are the location for the safe outdoor space. And that program is overseen, the programming is overseen by the LifeLink.
Okay, so they're not your partner, they're the LifeLink partner.
Right. They are a partner provider. We do work with them, but they are overseeing that program
I
specifically.
just didn't see them on the list, so, and I didn't see any other religious organizations except for Upaya Zen Center. So I hope there are other churches and that are participating and helping support you.
Absolutely. Yeah, these are partner providers who provide direct services through, Upaya Zen does morning meditations. We have AA group, our group. So we have a variety of groups that come in. These are some of those partner providers. I do have to acknowledge, yes, a different faith group that come in and do what we call host nights, where they come in and cook for our guests. Yeah, the list would be so long of those different faith and civic groups that come in and do so.
I mean, especially since you're called Interfaith Shelter.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we've listed here providers for the Resource and Opportunity Center. I mean, actual people that are coming in and providing services. We've got so many community partners who are feeding and checking people in and things like that.
Okay, that's good to hear. So how is the pallet shelter working?
My understanding, it's going really well. Again, we work with them, but we don't oversee that program.
Right.
But that's my understanding, is that it's going really well.
But we haven't so far been able to find another location for another pallet shelter place that I know of or that I've heard of.
I don't know. All I can tell you is I know the city put out an RFQ about finding locations for pallet shelters.
And then, the other disturbing comment that was made is that Cerrillos Road is turning into Central Avenue.
Oh, I've heard that it's like Skid Row, and if you've ever seen videos of Skid Row, it's nothing like Skid Row. So,
Right.
People.
Right. So, we all want to see our community thrive and help lift people out of being unhoused. And so I applaud your effort, and I do think that a kennel service is really important. I know that Catherine Cagle really cares about people with that are unhoused with animals, and that it is a big concern of hers, and I think of the community, because I think that the animals that these people care for are the people that are the animals that they love, and love is important no matter what. So I thank you for all your effort. I might have more comments after some others, but thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Green?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Karina. Actually, I'm going to, because it looks like Beverly had her hand up, so she might have had something to follow up on Commissioner Hansen's comments, so can I defer back to her for a second? So just to
Do
make
you
sure.
have more comments, Beverly?
My only comment was that we, as well as many of the businesses along Cerrillos Road, and then we heard from a bunch of them along Airport Road, we feel like we desperately need some police response when we have a need at Pete's. And I know that that's not necessarily a county issue, but support on that front is something that we're feeling increasingly that we need. And we're not talking about having the police come and arrest anyone. We're just talking about a presence. Whenever there's a police presence around the shelter, it's amazing how things clear up around Harrison Road. So that was the only thing I kind of wanted to add to what she was saying, but go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry to put you back on the spot there. So that is one of the aspects that I was hoping to discuss with you. down in Albuquerque, there's the Gateway Center, and we took a tour of it. We brought some folks from the city, some folks from Santa Fe County, and some folks from the governor's office to go check it out. And one of the aspects of it was that it provided that day and night center that you're looking at, which seems to be fitting for the situation at hand. But it also had an outside the walls sort of impact mitigation plan, which was, even though that it's in the international district that used to be called the war zone, that has been a marginalized, underserved community, the city and the and whoever the partners are in this, in the Gateway Center, created an impact mitigation plan that basically extended a private security and extra policing for 1/2 mile from the Gateway Center. And I don't know if they created an ordinance or an extra specific budget or whatever it was, but my understanding is the folks that are like literally saying, you know, not in my backyard, well, they're saying, wait a second, suddenly you've got enough police to make it livable, and where there aren't people passing out on their front lawn or, you know, throwing their trash in their area. And so for whatever solution and whatever location that you find, I really hope that you add those impact mitigation aspects into the package, because it's not, you know, anywhere you go, you're going to have pushback. But if you can bring added investment into the community that brings these things to the community, you know, whether it's additional policing, whether it's private security, whether it's an ordinance that says no loitering, no vagrancy within 1/2 mile of this, all of those tools that sort of start looking at protecting the communities that are going to be beset upon because of this, right? This is a need that we have to find a solution for, have to find a location for. But if all you're doing is looking out for your own space, we're missing half the battle, right? And so you, as an expert in this space, have the opportunity to put forth, hey, we're going to run this thing, but these are the additional things that we are advocating for the neighborhood that is going to be beset by this. And so I really ask that you bring that forward. I will advocate for it as well, but that was the solution that I saw down in Albuquerque that seems to have gotten the folks that live near the Gateway Center to feel not so beset upon. And I agree, you need policing around Pete's Place now, right? The urgency of now. It's not the next location, although we will need it at the next location, but right now the city of Santa Fe should be dedicating police officers to surround the area surrounding your area, or a private security company, or whatever it is, to deal with that, because the folks that live around you and work around you, it's not fair, right? It's really not fair for them to be, you know, you're doing great work, but the spillover effect because of your constraints need to be dealt with a little better. And I hope maybe we have a place to play in this, but it's probably the city. So anyway, I'll leave that there. Second one is when we talk about a one-door model, it's a model. What's a one-door example, right? And so I would hope that in whatever presentation that you might come to us for the next presentation, that you say, here's San Antonio, or here's Miami-Dade, or here, whatever. I mean, we've all spoken about it amongst ourselves here, but it's, you know, here's the Gateway Center. Like, here are 5 great examples of people doing it right, and you can acknowledge that you're constrained and it doesn't work because of that. But here, if only we had this amount of space, and in these impact mitigation solutions and all of these things, this is our ideal. What is that ideal? What does it look like in other communities? And what can we get behind so that we suddenly point at it and go, that's a damn good idea. Well, let's get behind that. I would hope that that would be a part of this instead of just sort of the abstract of it. People are doing this somewhere, right? Are doing it much better than anybody else. And how can we bring them in to say, you can do it too. This is how you do it. It costs money. It costs space. It costs neighborhood goodwill. But we're going to have to, you know, this is how we did it. And it might not be 1, it might be 5. Well, here's where we failed at this, but this is how we fixed it. But how can we use other people's insight and experience to do it better and best locally? And
Thank you, Commissioner. And really quick to address the first piece of your statement, it is stuff we've already looked at. You're right, with an ordinance that is going to require city policing, it's going to require the city. We've had security. We're actually contracting a professional security company. We've always hired in-house, but in an effort to try to address some of those concerns of the neighborhood. The other thing we're implementing, somewhat to what you're speaking to, is a good neighbor agreement where it brings the city, the neighbors, interfaith all together on this agreement of how we address things that come up, who's the point of contact. So it is something, it's done at the Safe Outdoor Space. So we're looking at implementing that. We're actually working with Kathleen Van Voorhees to do so. She's done several out of Colorado. So yes, we're doing all those things even now at Pete's Place, but that'll definitely go with us to the Resource Opportunity Center. So hopefully by the time everything's going on, we'll be well versed in all those elements that we'll be able to do it very successfully. To your second point, we have actually toured quite a bit of programs. Haven for Hope, the Murphy Center up in Fort Collins, Colorado, and actually I know Beverly and the city and I believe in Quorum, other people were touring different facilities up in Denver and the Colorado area, the Denver area, and we did look at those models. We looked at the Houston Navigation Center. There was a location in Portland that we also looked at. So we've looked at several models, looked at what would work here. There are elements, challenges that we just don't have the same resources, but ultimately we have looked as we're developing this, I think once we have a location, then we'll really be able to, move forward with how that kind of develops because it's all kind of dependent on space. If you look at Haven for Hope, it's a huge campus. They were able to do so much because of the amount of acres they had. We don't have that, so we have to pull elements that we can utilize to make it successful. But yes, sir, we have looked at several models around the country and what would work here, what elements we could pull, and even looking at the S3 initiative, housing initiative, was actually hosting these Haven for Hope conversations and having Tom Stark there and a couple other people who were part of that one-door model conversation we had many years ago of using the insights, again, all those elements that they pulled together, what we could still utilize and what we can't. So we're being very mindful of this whole process. This concept came about years ago when I first got hired at Pete's Place. We did our 3-year strategic plan. Our first piece was going outside our gates, and we've accomplished that with our mobile hygiene program. It's currently at 2 separate locations, and we've just got funding to add a 3rd location. So that's been an amazing program, really well received. So again, we're looking at different models that we can borrow from, that we can utilize the successes and things that we could replicate here. And again, the location for me is the important piece because that's really going to let us know what all we can do at that location, what we're just not going to be able to, all those elements that you just mentioned. And we've been very mindful of this process and looking at locations. We've been doing it for over a year now of looking different areas. Just like the housing is a challenge here, real estate, commercial real estate's a challenge in Santa Fe as well. So it is, again, being a very mindful process. We toured a location that was almost perfect, except it sits in a residential area. And I was like, nope, we're going to have to pass because we have to be very mindful, again, of the neighborhood, of the community that are going to welcome us. So we're not taking this process lightly at all. We're being very thorough and mindful of the location, the services, the community involvement. And yes, I'd love the city to have more, an ordinance that would really help us out because right now there is no loitering ordinance. So yeah, it makes it a little bit more challenging, I think, for all of us to enforce loitering when there's not an ordinance that we can cite of letting people know. So. But thank you.
Whatever they're doing in Albuquerque, you might want to pull that up and hand it to the city to say, look, this is working down the street, and if only you did this, this is what it costs in manpower, this is what it costs in that would help. As a part of a presentation, I would love to see all of those different models, right? We went to this place, we went to this place. This is the size of the campus, how many people it serves, this is how big the community they are, this is their cost that it takes to run, so that we see sort of like a sort of an armature of what works, what doesn't work, what the scope, the scale, the cost, and everything is sort of laid out there, what works and what doesn't work, and so you see who's achieved what within all of these. If you've got 100 of them, great. If there's only 10 of them, that's fine too. But obviously, this is a laundry list in sort of an abstract way, but somebody's doing it. And so saying they're doing it right, they're doing it almost right, they're doing it the best would be great. And that would be great. And then lastly, my understanding is the governor's office is asking for proposals right now. Literally, they've got $20 million of money to do statewide solutions to whatever's next for us here in Santa Fe and you. You have a proposal ready.
So we've met, I was actually in a meeting at the governor's office this morning. So while we don't have an official proposal to put together, yes, we're already having those conversations of how to utilize the governor's commitment for Pete's Place for Santa Fe.
Okay, don't miss that opportunity, please.
Not at all.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of questions. Is it my understanding that you would keep Pete's Place where it is as a shelter and move all the day services to a new place?
So I've said yes and no. If the location would allow us to relocate Pete's, although I would love to maintain this, the city owns the facility, so it would really have to be ultimately a city agreement or decision to allow us to keep providing services there. But yeah, I would love to keep that location, again, to create a complex care shelter for a specific population, whether that's dedicated to families and their unique needs, or the elderly unhoused population and their unique needs. That is, that's going to be my request from the city, but ultimately it is a city-owned building. So I think it'll be ultimately their decision whether they want to keep it for shelter services, or if the new location, they would want to relocate all of it. Not they would want to, but basically tell us we'd need to relocate the whole thing.
Okay, and either way, does the new location have shelter associated with it?
Well, we've looked at various locations, so if the location was large enough, absolutely. It's something we do well, we know how to do if we had the space to do so. Even if we did some hybrid of non-congregant version, it would definitely be something we'd be looking at to be able to provide.
Yeah, and I know you're taking over Consuelo's place perhaps for his last year. Are you looking to build housing to replace or place Consuelo's place in? In other words, could you transform Consuelo's place into housing?
I think so. I think having previously worked there and also now as the fiscal sponsor of Consuelo's Place, what it has somewhat transitioned into is actually supportive housing or transitional housing. The length of stay there is much longer, and again, with the challenge because a lot of people are working towards different housing, and affordable housing's an issue right now for many of those individuals. So I believe to get a housing voucher takes up to 6 months, and to get housed another 9 months, the process can take up to 2 years, really. So I think Consuelo's could ideally transform itself, and that's the beauty of Consuelo's, because it already does some version of that it could translate into permanent supportive or transitional housing of some sort.
Yeah, I think the only example, the thing that there's funding for now is permanent supportive housing, which is, people don't stay in permanent supportive housing, but their stay isn't limited. And so that's, we found statewide, very few people stayed longer than 5 years.
Yeah, and the big piece of that is the supportive piece, because it really gives people an opportunity to stabilize, to kind of practice those living skills and gain more life skills to make sure the next step or the permanent housing piece, that they are able to maintain that and not end up in a cycle. I love housing first, but one of the challenges, if you don't support people once they're moved in, I would say most, if not all, the people at Pete's have been housed at one point through an agency. And unfortunately, if you don't have that supportive element, they decompensate and unfortunately end up back at Pete's if they don't have that support or those life skills to maintain that housing.
Yeah, I think I've heard that families actually don't need the support services. If they're still together, they're also able to navigate life by themselves. And they found that just giving them housing is a good solution. However, individuals who have substance abuse and mental illness, they need the services.
Yes, and part of what I'm hoping we can create at Pete's is not only just connection to services, meeting people. What I know of, I'm a social worker by trade, of people being able to heal, and you need to be able to, you know, if you're living on the streets, if you're in survival mode, there's no way you can really focus on yourself in healing. So the goal is to provide those elements where people can then look towards themselves and work on healing. Because again, the goal is to not just provide those services, but to stabilize so people can take those steps towards permanent housing. And the other piece is homeless prevention. It's an important piece for me. We do a limited amount of it. I'm hoping to expand on that because so many people, we get so many referrals through County Connect or the Santa Fe Connect for individuals who are needing that utility assistance. The big one, unsurprisingly, but not surprisingly, has been the vehicle repairs, vehicle maintenance, because it's just so important for people to get to and from work, school, and if that falls out, like I said, a lot of times we're seeing a snowball effect.
Yeah. Well, and just keep in mind that the thing that we have a substantial amount of money for is affordable housing and not for anything else. So if you see an opportunity in that, that's where you should come to the county for help. We can help.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're helping a little bit with navigators and stuff, but.
Well, and I thank you for that because that's a huge piece. I don't know if you all saw the presenter, Greg Colburn, but his presentation was around homelessness as a housing issue. And for us, it's a particular affordable housing issue. When we look at other cities and other programs, even the ones that are working for Built for Zero, the huge success is affordable housing stock. It has allowed Haven for Hope to function very well because they have affordable housing stock, where that's a challenge. And I appreciate so much that the county's wanting to address that, because without that, we're just building shelters, and we're just kind of band-aiding a hemorrhaging issue. So thank you for that. We will look for opportunities.
Yeah, let's keep talking. And just so people know, I founded Consuelo's Place and hired Karina to run it, and we ran it for 2 years during the pandemic until she moved on to Interfaith Shelter, and I retired to be a commissioner. But we have a history, but it's a good history.
Yes.
I know you do a good job.
Thank you. And thank you, commissioners.
Any other comments?
I have a comment, and I just want to thank both of you and anyone else, but especially the two of you and our person online for your commitment to this work that is not uncomplicated. There are a lot of very complicated elements, and navigators are good, but I had a big wake-up call if a navigator's there and there is no case manager on almost a moment-to-moment basis, depending on the case. So the work that you're doing is critically important to the health and safety of our community and to the individuals who are involved. So I have to thank you. I don't know how I could possibly begin to just acknowledge and support your work and let you know that there's an immense amount of gratitude in everything that you're doing and trying to do. And when you hear the, wait a minute, why are you moving? What are you doing? Why is everyone here? But that everything that you're doing is to support and help community that has never in my lifetime been in this situation almost universally. This is something we've often, say my entire life, we've definitely had people who were unhoused. In my life, as brief as it may have been so far, has never had this exponential amount of unhoused living hand to mouth with no housing. So I'm so grateful for your work, and I'm sincerely grateful for the work that our chair has done and everyone else who works in this area. Sincerely, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Hanson?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Corinna. Thank you, Beverly, both of you for all the work, and of course, Commissioner Hughes. So my questions are around a new place for you, because that is something that I feel is imminent and needed the most. So do you have enough for a down payment, or is the city willing to buy another building and sell the building they own? Or, like, I'm trying to think of how and you're going to manifest this new place.
Well, again, we're looking at why we're looking very carefully. Beverly, I don't know if you wanted to jump in again. Finance person.
I'm happy to. I mean, you know, it is very unclear, quite frankly, who has what money, right? If we thought we could come here to the county and say, "Will you guys buy us a building?" You know, we would do that too. We, like I said, I mean, we have money set aside. Now, the idea of that money, quite frankly, was for programming. But if we have to use that money to pay a down payment or more, we could certainly do that. Do we have all the money that we need right now to do what we think we want to do, where we might want to do it? No. That's why, you know, we will be reaching out to the state. And if the state can funnel money, I understand that they can't give the money directly to a nonprofit, but if that money could be funneled through the city or through the county, and again, I don't know how that works. We can't do this alone. No, we need financial support, but we also need, what do I want to call it? Just kind of quote unquote community support. We need the city and the county and the funders to be in support of whatever we do. I mean, we'd love to just go off on our own and do what we think we want to do, but that's not going to be able to happen.
So I thank you, because I think that, you know, since we have this anti-donation clause, you know, it is hard for city, county, state to give you direct money, but it is not hard for us to own a piece of property that we then lease to you at a fair exchange.
Well,
like we do that with let me finish. We do that with Esperanza.
Okay.
You know, like that we own that building where Esperanza is on Rufina, and but the city, I believe, owns. It's a complicated issue. I think the city owns the land, or maybe we own the land. I know we own the building because we've repaired it. And put solar panels there. So, you know, there are ways to get around it. The state could buy the property in the same regard. You know, there are numerous workarounds to the anti-donation clause. And, you know, that's, you know, it's unfortunate we can't just give you the money and say, you know, the state, the city, here is the money and go buy your own building and thank you, but that's not reality. So, you know, I want to see you be able to create something like the Open Door place, and, you know, where it's at in a commercial kind of zone, and can have outdoor tents and shelters, and you know, but it's going to take money to do all of that, and it is up to, I believe, this community to step up and be aware of how important that is, because this affects all of us every single day, and it affects your clients every single day, and so we're all here wanting to work and think of a way to make you more successful. So I really appreciate you coming, giving this presentation, and laying out what you're trying to do, because it's incredibly important for everyone. So thank you.
And it's important to note that affordable housing isn't a good exemption to the anti-donation clause. So even if the building includes housing / shelter / whatever, we're much more able to fund it than if it's just services.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you for your time.
Anything else? Thank you. Thank you for coming. Right. Not quite time for public hearing yet, so we'll do matters from the county manager. And then we'll do probably our break, and then we'll come back for public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Just had a few miscellaneous updates. First, a reminder that we do have a special meeting scheduled for this Friday, August 13th. We'll begin at approximately 1 p.m. The agenda for that special meeting has been posted on board docs and at the county administration complex. And the focus of the meeting is the so-called CPACE ordinance. Secondly, and looking ahead to the end of the month, we do have two strategic planning sessions scheduled on September 26th and I believe 27th. So look forward to working with the board on establishing our strategic plan. We're updating it for the next 5 years. And finally, the Managers Commit to Be Fit Challenge did conclude. Last week, I believe Sunday was the last day for which data was collected. We'll anxiously await the announcement by HR on the team that was victorious this year. As with all things, we try to lead by example in the county manager's office. So I will state unequivocally that we will accept the results of the Commit to Be Fit challenge, even in the unlikely event that the manager's muscle makers come up short. So those are my updates.
Thank you. I think it's close enough to 3:30. We'll take a 15-minute or 10-minute break and come back for the public hearing at 3:45.
Matters from the public.
What?
Matters from the public.
Yeah,
It's not a public hearing.
Okay, we're ready to come back from our break and go to, and I will read it correctly, matters of public concern. And do we have anybody online?
Mr. Chair, we have 2 people online that would like to speak.
Okay.
All right, our first speaker is Chris Michels.
Okay, and you can set a timer for each for 3 minutes.
Can you hear me okay now?
We hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me proceed then. Well, I'm Chris Michel. I've been raising issues with this commission for about 6 months now, and nothing. Progress is very sparse. The main laws that are continually being broken is the Alma Meeting Act, the APA Records Act, and the Sunshine Act resolution. And it seems to be that it is becoming clear that what's going on here is that the county commissioners don't feel they have any power to enforce those laws. They seem to think that the power to actually enforce those laws rests with the county manager and the county attorney. So we get into a circular arrangement where I complain to the county commission, they ask the county manager and the county attorney about the laws, and the county manager and attorney, who are in fact breaking the laws, then assure them there's no problem. I mean, this seems to be what's going on here. And this seems to be traced back to 2010, when the Board of Commissioners unwisely gave that power to the county manager and to the county attorney, and kept themselves none. So right now, the commission does not have an attorney that reports to them. They have to ask the county manager and attorney, who are breaking the laws, about whether the laws are being broken. I mean, on the face of it, this is ridiculous. Now, the path forward appears to be, as I've noted before, that the commission needs to take back its power. They need to get the county attorney under their control, not the control of the county manager. And I would suggest that they schedule an agenda item to actually address what's going on here, which is that they're in continuing violation of of the state laws, APA and the Open Meetings Act, and their own resolution, the Sunshine Act, and they seem to think they can just sit there and ignore the violations. I mean, we didn't elect you to break our laws and sit there and ignore your violations when you're addressed. I mean, I think after struggling with this problem for 6 months, I've come to believe that the county commission is just confused. They didn't realize that their people back in 2010 gave away all their power. Well, they did. And I'd suggest that if you actually are seeking to serve the public rather than serve yourselves and the county manager, that you seriously consider taking back your power and serving the people of this county as intended by our Constitution. So anyway, please schedule an agenda item and let's deal with this. That's my message for today. Thank you.
Thank you. And who's next?
Mr. Chair, our next speaker is Sid Monroe.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I hope I'm coming through loud and clear. My name is Sid Monroe, live in 710 Coyote Ridge in Area 1B. I just wanted to quickly inform the Commission that last night the Agua Fria Village Association unanimously approved and adopted resolution number 2024-1 supporting Area 1B. I timed myself reading the resolution, and it would take me just about 90 seconds longer than my allocated time. So I have emailed you the resolution. I hope you take a few moments to read it, and I hope it finds its way into the public record. The conclusion of the resolution reads, "Now therefore be it resolved that we, the elected officers and board of directors of the Agua Fria Village Association of Santa Fe County, at a duly recorded monthly board meeting held in public and as reflected in the meetings of this association, be it resolved that the traditional historic community of Agua Fria Village will support the Area 1B in their quest and legal right to remain under Santa Fe County jurisdiction. Several Area 1B residents were in attendance last night and spoke about their continuing problems dealing with the city for land use and permits. Residents also expressed extreme concern for public safety. A central question is, given the city is failing to protect its current residents and with the city police force chronically understaffed, how can the city possibly protect and respond to Area 1B emergencies if the annexation were to proceed? I thank you for your time, and I hope you will check your email for the fully executed resolution and that it finds a way into the public record of Santa Fe County. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Is anybody in the chamber open to speak to us? Anybody else online?
Mr. Chair, it appears there are no more users online.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and move on to matters from county commissioners and other elected officials. And who wants to start first? Raise your hand. Mr. Green.
Just very quickly, I mentioned this at our special meeting a couple days ago, but just make sure that everybody knows that this weekend, Nambe Pueblo will be hosting a low-cost spay-neuter vaccination clinic for cats and dogs, and you can sign up at the Res Dog Rescue website or look it up on Facebook. It is going to be $25 per animal, and if you can't afford that, there are even subsidies for that. And I'd like to thank the board and the administration of Santa Fe County for helping support this. We did significantly contribute to bring the costs down for our residents around the county that are going to be taking part of this. So thank you very much, and please, if you've got a dog or a cat that needs this service, come out this weekend.
Okay, Commissioner Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I want to thank Sid Monroe for mentioning the resolution that was passed last night. There was a very lively discussion about this issue, and many constituents still complaining about the lack of response from the city on Area 1B. As we have said before, we disagree with the judge's assessment that this does not belong in the traditional historic village, but what I hear the people of 1B asking for is for them to continue to be in the county, not necessarily in the traditional historic village, but in the county, and that they have land use returned to the county. The annexation agreement expires in 2028. I can honestly say I don't think anything will happen before then, unfortunately. So, and I do believe the city is in violation of their agreement. I'm going to go on to, we are having coffee and tea on September 21st. And this coffee and tea will be discussing a Main Street grant that was, that a small group of people in the village have acquired to design and create a Agua Fria Cultural Center, history, art, meeting space, performance space, something that is desperately needed on the south side. And we want input from the community of Agua Fria to hear their concerns and what they want. This will be, a history center. It will be an art center. It will be, it has the possibility of being serving seniors. It has the possibility of having a commercial kitchen, and the goal is to have it located at the Romero Park complex next door to the Nancy Rodriguez Center, which is part of the master plan. It's already listed in the master plan as the next building to be built in that area. And I'm sure we'll have more discussion at this at the strategic planning, but it is something that I feel and the constituents feel is very needed there. Second is the most exciting thing is that on September 25th, we will be having a river trail groundbreaking for the next section of the river trail from Siler to San Ysidro Crossing. It will be on September 25th at 11 a.m. at San Ysidro Crossing. Parking will be at Reunity Resource, at the trailhead, at the San Ysidro trailhead, and I'm extremely looking forward to this next section of the river trail going forward. I have worked on the river trail since the early 2000s when I was on the Parks and Open Space for the city of Santa Fe. So next is on September 28th, the Mutual Domestic, Agua Fria Mutual Domestic will be holding their annual meeting, so anyone who gets water from the Mutual Domestic in Agua Fria, please attend. And then another exciting but not so positive but an important event is September 30th. NMED will be holding a meeting at the Harold Reynolds Building to discuss the Baca Street plume, which is a plume that was created by PNM in the 30s, 40s, 50s when they had a substation there. And this plume has been ongoing since the 90s. I had the honor of having lunch with the new deputy director of resource management at NMED today, and he is very committed to making sure that this plume is monitored properly. And even though this is in the city, it is in District 2. And I am another project I have worked on for over 10 years. Another exciting thing is the sewer lines have started in the next phase. A and B lane is finished, and they are working on Pam Sinida. So that is a very exciting progress, along with the Romero Park water line, which is also being worked on. So I'm really excited about the projects that are happening in the village, and I look forward to seeing everyone on the 21st and the 25th. The 21st for coffee and tea at Reunity Resources, and the 25th for the River Trail opening and groundbreaking. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Bustamante.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Top of mind, this past weekend, a number of community events, and then one that we have all participated in was canceled, and it didn't result in, or should I say it did result in getting a little bit of feedback on how, as public leaders, there's work that needs to be done and we haven't done it. And I am all ears. I open it up to listen to what the solutions are for these issues that are happening nationwide. But to this end, there is a meeting this evening about crime on the south side of our county, off of Airport Road this evening. And for this purpose, taking some of those best practices that have come out nationally are the places where city and county leaders, and I say this as an invitation and thought process for how we can move together with our communities by rejecting those systems that haven't always worked when it's aggressive and not taking into account those cycles of violence that have underlying issues, such as people returning from incarceration and not getting the support that they need, and then in turn going back from incarceration for having done something to get more of whatever it was they didn't get the support for. Expanded services for crime survivors, and working with those who are at risk of retaliation and further victimization. I ask that we all, and I'm grateful to the leadership from Santa Fe, the City of Santa Fe, City Councilor Lee Garcia and City Councilor Pilar, and I am totally dropping Pilar's name. Faulkner, I apologize. Pilar Faulkner, as well as Commissioner Hansen and Commissioner-elect Kakari Stone, who will be, as a group, going to our residents on the south side to look at how we can support evidence-based community violence intervention strategies. How do we address the issues of crime? We will have law enforcement at those meetings. To help us work on playing a key role, but not just a punitive. There are a lot of people with mental health issues who are not being served, and that issue is not being addressed. So we really look towards community-led collaborations, finding ways to help foster mutual trust and build and share data. There are communities who have done a lot by this way. I'll give one. Oklahoma City, after the Oklahoma bombing, was one that really reported how closely the community got together, having had such an extreme event. And they got a basketball team, and I started cheering for it, and it became a wild thing. But we won't go into that when this is very serious. It became something that was very communal. And as much as I jest about getting together, and it's really about how do we build community, and having people go to those basketball games outside of the basketball center, pulling their grills outside of the Oklahoma City basketball team's pit, and there were some who were inside, but the community was outside, and it was safe. It's not, we have to be careful about going back to the good old days, because there were things that weren't so great about the good old days, but what does it really mean to come back to something that allows us to build community in a way that community-led and trained safety groups can help us reconvene population and community and help people feel welcome so they don't feel that they need to act out. So I ask that the document that I pulled and did a little bit of homework and research before the meeting tonight, and I ask that in a whole, the notes that I've pulled together from improving public safety through better accountability and prevention, which is cited May 2024 and has the authors, be provided for as part of our minutes, and have that for the record to share for ways that it has been shown that community can be brought together and we can heal as community. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you and anyone in the community who is looking to create and support a safer Santa Fe and Santa Fe County. These are our families. These are our neighborhoods. This is where our kids used to be able to play outside all night, and now we worry. Let's do what we can to make things safer. I'm grateful. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, the meeting tonight is at the Santa Fe Country Club at 6:30, and Commissioner Bustamante and I are honored to join with City Councilors Garcia and Faulkner in this meeting.
As will our Commissioner-elect
and Commissioner-elect.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Hamilton.
I don't have anything tonight, thank you.
Okay, I have a few things. First, I'd like to recognize Lisa Kakari Stone. Thanks for coming. In terms of my stuff, there's a 1 hour with Hank started on, there'll be September 17th online at 5:30. Also, we're having a public meeting in El Dorado about the public projects in El Dorado. That's September 19th at 5:30. And then finally, we've received or been made aware of petitions asking for a moratorium on renewable energy. I think we should acknowledge that we have received them and at least we've received some of them and been made aware of all of them. I personally do not think that a moratorium on renewable energy is appropriate because climate change is coming too fast and we don't have time. And also we are capable of evaluating each project on its merits and on safety. So even though I know a lot of people are concerned, I don't agree that we need to do a moratorium. And that's it. Yes, Commissioner Hanson.
So many things going on, I'm completely forgot, but this Thursday and Friday, there is an energy summit at the, which reminded me, at the Santa Clarion put on by Representative Tara Lujan. I will be speaking on a panel with, moderated by Charles Goodmaker and Senator Sadia Lopez and Beth Beloff, and we will be speaking on Friday morning. And also this weekend, the Northern Rio Grande National Heritage Area is having a opening of their creative culture and creatives at Los Luceros from 5:30 to 7:30. So please join us at Los Luceros.
But you sound like a very busy Commissioner Hanson. Very.
Is that any different than it has been for the last 8 years?
Even busier this
I
time
know
than
there's a
usual.
lot to get done in the last 4 months.
That's right, you've got 4 months left. Okay, are there any elected officials who would like to speak? Any online? Any from the deputy clerk? No? Okay, then it's time for matters from the county attorney. Attorney Young, are you online?
I am. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. I would ask that we go into executive session to discuss three matters. Limited personnel matters is allowed by Section 10-15-1H2 in MSA 1978. Discussion of bargaining strategy preliminary to collective bargaining negotiations between the Board of County Commissioners and collective bargaining units is allowed by Section 10-15-1H5. Threatened or pending litigation in which Santa Fe County is or may become a participant is allowed by Section 10-15-1H7 in MSA 1978. And those are specifically including the performance evaluation of the county manager, discussion of bargaining strategy, preliminary collective bargaining negotiations with IAFF 4366. And lastly, NRA Aqueous Film Forming Foams Product Liability Litigation MDL number 2, 18-MN-2873, City of Camden and others versus Tyco Fire Products and others, case number 224CV 02321 RMG, and then City of Camden and others versus BASF Corporation, case number 224CV 03174 RMG. Those are in the United States District Court, District of South Carolina, Charleston Division.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I so move that we go into executive session for the items that County Attorney mentioned.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hanson, seconded by Commissioner Green. We need a roll call.
Commissioner Anna Hamilton,
That's me, I guess. I apologize, yes.
Commissioner Justin Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Anna Hanson,
Yes.
Commissioner Camila Bustamante,
Yes.
and Chair Hank Hughes.
Yes. And it looks like we'll be back in session briefly after the executive session. So we'll be back.
The only things that we discussed were those mentioned by the county attorney before we went in.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, and we're live, right? Okay, so motion by Commissioner Green, seconded by Commissioner Hanson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. No opposition. There's two motions. Commissioner Green, I think you have a motion.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion to move to authorize the county manager to sign requests for an extension of the settlement classes and file the requests for exclusion of the respective notice administrators in one, regards to the aqueous forming foam products liability litigation, MDL number 2, colon 18-MN-28373, City of Camden et al. Versus Tyco Fire Products LP et al. Case number 2:24-CV02321-RMG, and item 2 in regards to aqueous forming foams product liability litigation, MDL number 2, colon 18-MN-2873, City of Camden et al. Versus BASF Corporation, case number 2:24-CV03174-RMG.
A second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Green, seconded by Commissioner Hanson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that one passes. And then we're going to adopt the contract and with no changes as was presented to us. But go ahead, Commissioner Hanson.
I would like to move on amendment number 1 to the employment agreement by and between the Board of County Commissioners of Santa Fe County and Greg Schaefer to extend his contract for another 3 years.
Second. Yeah. I'll
Okay,
second.
motion by Commissioner Hanson. Who had the second?
I got it.
Hamilton got the second. Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Congratulations, Manager Schaefer. We're very happy to have you continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. It's been my great honor to serve as county manager, and I'm sincerely humbled that the Board of County Commissioners would ask me to continue to do so. I would emphasize that while the term of my employment agreement has been extended until May 2028, the provisions remain that allow me to be, my services to be terminated with or without cause on 30 days' notice. It's important for me to note that because I am passionate both about the county as an organization and the county as my home. And it has always been important to me that the board be free to move in a different direction should it decide that it was in the best interest of our organization and our community to do so. The last thing that I would hasten to add is that any success that the county has experienced during my time as county manager really belongs to the county employees who tirelessly work on behalf of our community on a daily basis. I want to acknowledge and thank them for their hard work, and I look forward to continuing to work with them and the board as we continue to implement your policy decisions and priorities. So thank you sincerely for the vote of confidence.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Let's go watch a debate.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, a minute there, I thought you were going to oppose that, Commissioner Bustamante. I thought you were going to oppose.